Hello everyone, I'm Chris Hallam, sending this post from the snowy Pacific Northwest this week, and this is my post for AVIA5530. I've chosen to answer question 4 this week. What relevancy do you see to this week's model in your own or future safety positions? I've chosen to hopefully apply it to a future position that is kind of materializing right now between the union and the company I work for as a flight safety inspector. And the issue I kind of want to apply the epidemiological model to this week is one that's kind of helped get me into this position that I'm looking to hold in the next few weeks. And it has to do with air quality events on aircraft. There's been several events in particular with Airbus aircraft over the last couple years in particular, as well as we're starting to report them for the Embraer 175 aircraft. If you're not familiar with this discussion and this issue on the aircraft, basically most turbine-powered aircraft, with the exception of the 787, use engine bleed air to pressurize the cabin, as well as perform some air conditioning functions and some of those types of things on the aircraft. Engine bleed air is also used to seal engine main bearings. The engine main bearings use what's called a dynamic seal, usually a labyrinth seal or a lab seal, and it uses the bleed air to seal those bearings. And as those bearings start to break down or fail, some burnt turbine engine oil can enter the bleed system and then be put into the cabin. So I wanted to look at the epidemiological model for that and what the FAA is kind of exploring, and hopefully as well the industry with regards to this. The triangle that we're looking at this week for the epidemiological model starts with the agent at the top, the environment, and then the host. So I'm going to posit that the agent is burned turbine fuel. The environment is the aircraft cabin, as well as including the bleed lines that bring the bleed air into the cabin. And the host, of course, is the crew and the passengers. They talk about blunting the corners of that triangle in order to eliminate the accident, which I would call in this case poisoning of the crew. The neurotoxins from the burnt turbine oil have been shown to cause permanent nervous system, central nervous system damage, as well as respiratory injury, even long-term, that can't be corrected currently. So it is a pretty serious event. What the FAA and even a study at Kansas State University is looking at is largely blunting the environment corner of the epidemiological triangle. And they're looking into air filtration that currently doesn't exist. Well, it currently exists, but it's very expensive and cost prohibitive. But one of the options to blunt that side of the triangle is using a gaseous filtration system that the 787 and the Airbus 350 currently use, and it uses activated charcoal. It's the only system right now that can remove gaseous components and contaminants from the bleed air, or in the 787's case, just from the air in general. The other possibility would be to eliminate the agent, meaning finding a new way to make turbine engine oil, which probably with research and all the stuff that go into that would be even more cost prohibitive than just adding the filtration system to the aircraft. But these events are starting to become more and more reported, and the Kansas State study that was cited in an article that I read early on this is estimating approximately just over 5 events, probably underreported, going on every day. So it is something that's very serious, and I think something that that needs to be looked at. The last point I guess I want to kind of touch on is the host, the people. There do seem to be varying responses because not everybody seems to react or get as sick as certain other people, although it seems most frequently crew members are being affected by these air quality events. So in our particular aircraft, we've started to see them being reported as well, and largely by a crew. And so far we haven't had any event serious enough that has caused an aircraft to divert, but we have noticed it in particular on high power takeoffs, not using any flex or derated power, as well as at certain times in the descents as well onto landing, which is kind of curious. So anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys on the forum.